Hello, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to Boring Science for Sleep, a place for quiet questions, gentle answers, and slow stories told in the dark. Before we begin, may I ask, what time is it where you are right now? Is the moon still high outside your window? Or is the sun just beginning to think about rising? Are you lying in bed in a quiet city apartment? Or listening from the middle of a quiet countryside night? Wherever you are, whenever you've arrived, you're exactly where you need to be. Tonight, we're doing something beautifully simple. We're going to look up, not to chase stars, or search for galaxies, or drift too far from home, just to ask a question that sounds almost too small to matter, and yet it's carried by every breeze, painted on every window, and reflected in every pond. Why is the sky blue? It's the kind of question we ask when we're very young, then forget to ask again. But it's also the kind of question that contains more wonder than we expect, because the sky isn't always just blue. It's silver at dawn, electric at noon, burnished with gold at dusk, and in the space between all those colors is a quiet story, told by sunlight and scattered by air. So tonight, we'll follow that story. We'll trace it gently. No formulas, no pressure, just the kind of science that holds your hand and helps you fall asleep. Let your shoulders drop. Let the sky above you soften. And let this gentle question to become the doorway to rest. Let's begin with something so ordinary, so ever-present, we often forget it's even there. Light. The kind that streams through your window. The kind that glows on your skin as morning comes. The kind that paints the sky in hues too soft to name. But light, despite what it looks like, isn't just one thing. It's many. It arrives here on Earth, like a quiet traveler, carrying a suitcase, packed full of colors. You can't see them all at once. In fact, you can't see many of them at all. But they're there, tucked inside every beam, woven together like threads in a sunlit tapestry. White light, what we call sunlight, isn't actually white. It only looks that way, because all the colors inside it are moving in harmony, each color with its own wavelength, its own tiny vibration, its own voice. But together, they sing in unison. That is, until something asks them to part ways. Let's imagine it this way. Sunlight is a handful of soft, silky ribbons. Each ribbon is a color: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. When you hold them together, they look white, like a blur of possibility. But when something passes through them, a prism, perhaps, those colors begin to slip apart, to stretch, to reveal themselves. This is called dispersion, a beautiful, gentle word for the moment when light shows us what it's truly made of. You've seen it in rainbows. After the rain ends, and the world holds its breath, sunlight touches tiny drops of water, suspended in the air, and each drop becomes a miniature prism, bending the light just so, separating the ribbons, letting them fly free. And just like that, a rainbow appears, not because the colors weren't there before, but because they've been set loose. And that's the truth of light. It holds multitudes. It is unity, but also variety. So let's talk about those colors. Red is the long, slow wave, the one that travels the furthest, with a calm that almost feels sleepy. It's strong, dependable, less likely to be scattered. Blue and violet, on the other hand, are short waves. They're fast, nimble, light on their feet. But with that quickness comes fragility. They're more easily bounced, turned, nudged off course. They scatter. Now, Imagine sunlight pouring into Earth's atmosphere, a thin layer of gases, a breathable cushion wrapped around our planet. As the light enters, it meets tiny molecules of air, nitrogen, oxygen, floating particles you'll never see, but that are always there, dancing, drifting, swaying with heat. Each molecule is like a miniature obstacle course, and when light passes through, it doesn't simply sail ahead, it interacts. The long waves, like red and orange, pass through with grace. They're hardly disturbed, but the short waves, blue, violet, they bump, twist, scatter in every direction. This is called Rayleigh scattering, named after a man, but really, it's something the world has done since long before we had names to give it. It's a soft phenomenon. Nothing explodes, nothing cracks or flashes, just light meeting air and being gently rerouted. The blue light is sent sideways, backward, up and around. It fills the whole sky, not because the sun is blue, but because blue light doesn't stay still. It spreads. And so, when you look up during the day, you're not seeing the sun's light directly. You're seeing the scattered leftovers, the tiny pieces of blue that couldn't keep to the path. The sky is blue because blue is the color that lets go. It's the one that strays, the one that travels sideways so that it can find you. Violet light scatters even more than blue, but our eyes don't pick it up as well. It fades into the background, like a note too high to hear clearly. So blue becomes the visible echo, the song we hear even after the band has walked away. Now think of this. As the sun rises and sets, its light enters the atmosphere at a different angle. It has farther to travel, more air to pass through, and in that longer journey, even blue gets worn down. It scatters too far, fades into pale memory. What's left? The longer waves. Orange, red, gold. And that's why sunsets burn. Not with fire, but with distance. They are the story of what remains when everything else has scattered. So the next time you see a sunset, remember, you're seeing what light looks like when it's almost out of breath. And yet, still beautiful, still full of color, still trying to reach you. It's comforting, isn't it? That the sky is blue not because of magic, or paint, or something alien, but because the world is made of tiny, unseen things that bend and scatter light, just enough to soften your day, because some colors wander, and in wandering, they become visible. That's what science does too. It takes something invisible and gently makes it seen. And maybe that's why you're here tonight. Not just to fall asleep, but to remember that even the things we've known forever, like the color of the sky, still have mysteries worth unfolding. Let your eyes close. Let the light drift. Let the blue spread softly behind your thoughts, like watercolor running across a damp page. And if dreams come, let them come scattered. Let them arrive like short waves of light, dancing, wandering, gentle. You're part of the sky now, and the sky is always more than it seems. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath in. Let it out, quietly, like the evening exhaling. That breath you just took was shaped by the same invisible ocean that colors the sky. We call it the atmosphere. It's not loud. It doesn't shimmer. You can't hold it in your hand or place it in a box. But it's there, always, wrapped around the earth, like a soft, transparent blanket, not to hide us, but to shape what we see, what we hear, and how we live. Tonight, let's pause long enough to notice what air really is, because it isn't nothing. It never was. Imagine walking through a field at night. Cool air brushes your face. You can't see it, but you feel it on your skin. It lifts the edge of your sleeve. It carries a scent. It moves without asking. That air, that unseen companion, is made of countless tiny things. Nitrogen, oxygen, a little argon, a dash of carbon dioxide, and traces of other gases floating together in a constant, quiet waltz. Each molecule is so small, you could fit billions of them in a single breath. They don't sit still. They drift. They bounce. They collide and part like dancers in a crowded hall. And it's through this endless movement that light, sunlight, finds its way to you. You see, the atmosphere is not just something we breathe. It's something that interacts. When sunlight enters Earth's atmosphere, it doesn't pass through untouched. It meets this sea of molecules, and together they engage in a dance older than language. Some of that light scatters, some passes through, some bends, just slightly, as if being nudged by invisible fingertips. And those fingers, those molecules, shape the color of the sky. The air's density matters. Down near the surface, the air is thicker. More molecules packed close together. It's heavier, more resistant, more hands reaching for each ray of light. Higher up, the air is thinner. Fewer collisions, less interference. And so, depending on where the light travels, how deeply it dips into this atmosphere, its color changes. This is why sunsets glow low on the horizon, why the noonday sky feels sharper than the morning, why twilight feels like a soft secret. It's the air, doing what it does best, shaping light quietly. Even humidity plays a role. Moisture in the air can scatter light differently, blurring sharp blues into soft silvers. The sky after rain is not the same as the sky before it. Dust, too, plays its part. In dry climates, tiny particles float like ghostly dancers in the sunday. They scatter more red and orange, giving the sky a washed, almost chalky tone. In cities, pollution acts like a filter, sometimes muting the sky, sometimes turning sunsets electric. Air is not just air. It is context. It is the frame through which we see the world. And it moves, constantly. Wind, after all, is just air going somewhere. Not in a hurry, but with purpose. It shifts temperature, carries clouds, and even shapes color, like brushing a watercolor painting with a soft, unseen hand. Now imagine the atmosphere as layers, not walls, not sheets, but gentle zones stacked on top of one another. The troposphere is where we live, where clouds form, where weather happens. It's the thickest layer and the one most full of motion. Above that, the stratosphere, calmer, colder, home to the ozone that shields us from harmful light. Higher still, layers continue, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, each one thinner, quieter, further from our everyday senses. And yet, they all shape the sky you see. The light must travel through all of it. Every blue sky, every fiery sunset is the result of sunlight taking a journey through all these quiet, invisible places. It's a long passage, a softened one, like sound traveling through fog. And even as the light travels, it bends. Not sharply, but just enough to matter. This bending is called refraction. It's why the sun appears just a little higher in the sky than it truly is when it rises or sets. Air curves the light, like a hand gently turning a page. It doesn't change the light's essence. It changes how it reaches you. And so, the atmosphere becomes the storyteller, not the author. Light wrote the words, but the one who reads them aloud in a particular tone, softly, clearly, or with pauses where you least expect. If the atmosphere were gone, if you stood on the moon, for example, the sky would be black, even in full sunlight, because without air, there's no scattering, no blue, no glow, just space and shadow and the raw light of the Sunday. Beautiful, yes, but also unfiltered. Our atmosphere adds the softness. It is the lens, the echo, the quiet translator between sun and soul. And so, when you look up during the day, what you're seeing is not just sky. You're seeing what happens when light meets breath, when radiance meets resistance, when the energy of the sun slows down just enough to spread into color. That's the gift of air. It doesn't create the light. It gives it form. It doesn't shine, but it helps light be seen. Just like you, perhaps. You don't have to glow to matter. Sometimes, simply being there makes everything more beautiful. So tonight, as you lie in the quiet of your own atmosphere, wrapped in the layer of air that holds your home, feel how soft it all is. Let your body rest into the shape of the bed beneath you. Let your breath slow, like wind over open water. Let your thoughts scatter, like blue light in a summer sky. The air has always been here, waiting, lifting, cradling, and now it cradles you. Sleep beneath it, trust it, float within it, and let it carry you gently into dreams. The sky is never just one color. Not really. It shifts, it drifts, it transforms, quietly, like someone changing clothes behind a silk curtain. And sometimes it happens so slowly, you don't even notice until it's already different. Blue becomes gold, gold becomes rose, rose becomes violet, and then, finally, the sky sighs into black. It's a dance, a choreography of color, and the lead dancer? Angle, not the sharp kind you find in geometry books, not the cold kind that measures corners, but soft angles, sunlight approaching from the side, the earth leaning slightly, the horizon tilting gently against the sky. Let's begin at noon, at the very top of the day. When the sun is overhead, its light takes the shortest path through the atmosphere. A straight line, a direct hit. The short, fast waves, blue and violet, scatter most easily. And since we can't see violet well, what's left is that clear, bright blue. Simple, open, familiar. But the sun never stays still. It moves, or rather, we move. As Earth turns, the sun's angle shifts. It starts to sink, just a little at first, like dipping a paintbrush slowly into water. Now, the sunlight has farther to travel. It enters the atmosphere at a slant. Its path grows longer, thicker with air, denser with distance. And that changes everything. The blue light, our midday companion, gets scattered away before it reaches your eyes. It dissolves into the higher parts of the sky. It fades into the wings of the day. What remains are the longer waves. Orange, red, gold. They travel better. They stay strong. They reach you. And so, the sky changes. Not because the sun changes, but because the way its light moves is altered by time and tilt. A sunset is not an ending. It's a sideways arrival. It is sunlight, angled low, brushing the sky from beneath, highlighting dust, vapor, and the gentle curve of the earth. The reds and oranges you see are not poured from above. They are lit from below, illuminated by distance, by journey, by what the light has had to pass through to find you again. And then, after the reds have flared and the last gold flecks dissolve into the horizon, something stranger happens. The sky becomes not dark, but purple, just for a moment. That moment is called the belt of Venus, a soft band of violet pink that hovers opposite the sunset, just above the true shadow of the earth. It is a quiet contradiction. The sun is gone, and yet light remains, reflected, scattered, held for just a few more breaths. It's the earth's own shadow, rising into the sky, a reminder that night does not fall, and it lifts. And then the stars arrive, the deepest blues, to become black. The sky no longer scatters, it opens. What you're seeing now isn't light being redirected. It's light arriving directly. Starlight, planet glow, the slow drift of cosmic history. And in the morning, it all happens again. But in reverse, the sun approaches. Its light meets the atmosphere from below the horizon. The path is long, the angle is low, and so you wake to red, to orange, to pink. A palette of patience spreads softly across the sky, until, finally, the sun lifts high enough that blue finds you again, and the cycle begins once more. All of this, every subtle color shift, is created by shadows and angles. Not shadows as absence, but shadows as presence, as quiet geometry, the kind the earth performs without needing to be seen. You might not notice the angle, you might not see the line between golden hour and dusk, but your body knows. Birds sing differently, leaves shimmer less. Even your thoughts seem to prepare themselves for stillness. That's the magic of changing light. It signals something ancient in us. It says, the world is turning. It's okay to stop now. You've done enough. And even though it's just physics, just light waves and air molecules and distance, it feels like something more. Because the sky doesn't just change color, it changes tone. Midday is bright. It invites motion. But twilight? Twilight wraps around you. It doesn't ask. It allows. So tonight, as your room darkens and your eyelids grow heavier, I know this. You are part of that slow turning. You are shaped by the same angles, cradled by the same shadows. There is no rush. The sky doesn't leap from blue to black. It meanders, and you can too. Let your thoughts follow the sun's path, not in a line, but in a slow, slanting glide. Let them bend. Let them stretch. Let them scatter and settle and fade. You do not have to be bright all the time. You can be orange. You can be pink. You can be purple, for no reason at all. You can be shadowed and still full of light. And when sleep finds you, as it gently will, let it come like a soft horizon. Let it arrive at the perfect angle. From the ground, the sky often looks like a painting, clean, still, serene. But look closer. Not with your eyes, but with your imagination. Because up there, above rooftops and tree lines, beyond birds and weather balloons, the air is never really still. The atmosphere is always in motion, always working, always stirring itself like a pot of invisible soup, just hot enough to swirl. It's easy to think of the sky as empty, but it's not. It's full of particles and pulses, full of warmth and cool, full of shifting pressure, of rising and falling air. We call this turbulence, and it's beautiful, not dramatic, not dangerous, just the gentle chaos of Earth's breath. Tonight, let's wander upward into that motion. Let's float into the great disturbance, not the kind that frightens, but the kind that sculpts what you see. Because when you look at the sky, you're not just seeing color. You're seeing color that has been filtered, refracted, nudged, and jostled by an atmosphere that never sleeps. Start with heat. Sunlight warms the earth unevenly. Water heats slower than land. Cities hold heat longer than forests. Mountains cast shadows that shift by the hour. This uneven heating creates movement. Hot air rises. Cool air sinks. Air rushes to fill the gaps. And wind is born. But wind isn't just one layer brushing past your face. There are layers upon layers of air, moving in different directions, at different speeds, all at once. This layered dance is what distorts starlight. It's why stars appear to twinkle. Each time light passes through another pocket of air, with slightly different temperature or pressure, it bends. Not dramatically, just a little, but enough. That tiny bending, multiplied again and again, as the light travels through miles of shifting atmosphere, causes it to shimmer, to flicker, to dance. And even though that twinkle seems playful, it's really a map of how alive the air above us is. During the day, you don't see stars twinkle, but you do see their cousin, the shimmer of heat. Look across a hot road in summer, and you'll notice the air is wavy, like water, but dry. That's a mirage, not an illusion, but a distortion. It happens because air near the ground is much hotter than the air above it, and when light passes through that contrast, it bends upward. Your eyes misread it. You think you're seeing water, but really, you're seeing light taking a different path, all because the air decided to shift. Even on cool days, the sky is filled with tiny disturbances, little eddies of motion, small swirls of high and low pressure that bend light just enough to make things shimmer, soften, glow. Clouds are part of this too. Though they seem fluffy and still, they are the visible tip of invisible processes. Each cloud forms when warm, moist air rises, cools, and condenses into droplets. Those droplets scatter light. Some reflect it, some absorb it, some let it through. And depending on the angle of the sun, clouds can become white, grey, silver, gold, or sometimes a brilliant pink that looks more like dream than weather. Even the tiniest particles in the air shape what you see. Dust, salt, pollen, ash, all of them scatter light differently. When the air is clean, the sky can seem sharp, blue as a sapphire, almost endless. But when particles fill the atmosphere, the colors soften, skies grow pale, sunsets become more dramatic. After volcanic eruptions, sunsets around the world can turn deep crimson for months, not because the sun changes, but because the air has remembered something powerful and won't let go of it just yet. Even moisture, the kind you can't see, adds to the mix. Water vapor doesn't scatter light much, but it creates the conditions for clouds, for fog, for halos around the moon. Have you ever seen that? A faint ring of light around the full moon. On a humid night? That's ice crystals in the upper atmosphere, bending moonlight into a perfect circle. It's not rare, but it always feels like a secret, a whisper between the moon and the air. And it reminds us, even the calmest skies are full of movement, full of influence. The air is like glass, but not solid, not cold, not fixed. It's molten glass, shifting constantly, a lens that never stops reshaping the world. And you live inside it, every moment. Each breath you take is shaped by these same currents. The reason a sunset feels different every evening is because the air is never the same. It remembers the day. It carries the history of heat, the memory of wind, the stories of distant deserts and far-off oceans. And it brings all that with it when it lifts your sky. That's what makes the atmosphere a great disturbance, not in the sense of trouble, but in the sense of being alive. The sky is not a backdrop. It is a living medium, a shifting, invisible ocean through which light must swim before it finds your eyes. And, like the ocean, the atmosphere hides most of its motion beneath the surface. You don't see the layers. You see the results. You see the color, the shimmer, the glow. And maybe now, when you look at the sky, you'll see something else too, a kindness. Because it's this constant motion, this great, chaotic breath that gives us color at all. Stillness may bring clarity, but movement brings beauty. So as you lie here now, in your own pocket of air, let yourself shift too. Let your mind drift. Let your thoughts move, like warm air rising, lifting slowly, changing shape. You don't need to hold still. You don't need to be clear. You just need to float, to be carried by the soft disturbance that wraps our world, in color, in warmth, in breath. The sky is never silent. It only feels still because it moves with such grace. So, rest in that rhythm. Let the air around you hum its quiet song, and let sleep arrive, like sunlight bending through a curtain of wind. Imagine the sky not as one single thing, but as many soft layers, like veils of silk, draped loosely on one another, moving only when the wind asks them to. That is how our atmosphere works, not as one massive slab of air, but as a quiet stack of gradients, each layer a little cooler, a little thinner, a little less eager to hold on. And it's between those layers, in the seams, in the spaces where one gives way to the next, that something gentle happens. Light bends, not violently, not like a branch snapping, but subtly, gracefully, like a dancer changing direction mid-step. This is the story of refraction. You've seen it before, even if you didn't know the name. Place a straw in a glass of water. It seems to shift, to bend at the surface, not because the straw is broken, but because the light carrying its image was slowed, nudged, rerouted by the change in medium. Air can do that too. But in the sky, the glass of water is a series of air pockets, each one different in temperature, pressure, or moisture. And as sunlight travels down into these layers, it doesn't take a straight path. It curves, not all at once, but gradually, with softness. This is how sunrises arrive, before the Sunday. It hasn't breached the horizon yet, but its light has, bending through the atmosphere, angled by gradients, reaching your eyes, like a promise whispered ahead of its speaker. The same thing happens at sunset, a lingering glow, a final softness, after the sun has slipped away. It's not illusion, it's refraction, light traveling a curved road through invisible change. And it's not just the Sunday. The moon bends too. Ever noticed how full it seems, even when it hasn't fully risen? Or how enormous it looks, just above the horizon? That's not the moon growing. It's our atmosphere reshaping the path of its light, and our brains interpreting that change with wonder. Sometimes the bending becomes art. Have you ever seen a halo, a glowing ring around the sun or moon, perfectly circular, hanging in a bright winter sky? It happens when light meets ice crystals, floating high in the atmosphere. Each crystal acts like a tiny prism, bending the light exactly 22 degrees before releasing it again. No more, no less. The result is a ring, not drawn, but refracted, a quiet geometry. And sometimes, refraction can deceive. Think of mirages, not just the classic puddle on the road, but the stranger ones, ships that float above the sea, mountains that appear upside down, cities that shimmer on the edge of deserts. These aren't tricks. They're layers of hot and cool air, stacked just right, bending light so that distant things to appear closer or higher or reversed. It's called a superior mirage, and it's like the sky, flipping through its own photo album, showing you a memory out of order. And yes, sometimes this bending distorts. Sometimes it hides, but other times it reveals, like the green flash, a rare, fleeting burst of green light that appears just as the sun sets for a second or two, caused by refraction, separating the colors of the sun's edge and letting green linger just a heartbeat longer before night takes over. It's not something you chase. It's something you happen to witness once, maybe twice in your life. And when it happens, you feel like you've been let in on a secret. But even when we don't see a green flash, a halo, a mirage, the bending still happens. Every ray of sunlight you receive is bent, shaped, smoothed by the layers above you. And it's not just vertical bending, it happens horizontally too. Waves of warm air rise from valleys. Cool air descends from mountaintops. Storm systems push the layers sideways, creating turbulence that folds the light. And yet, from where you lie, everything looks simple. The sky is blue. The sunset is orange. The moon is full. But that's because air is a gracious artist. It doesn't show you the brush strokes, only the finished piece. And perhaps there's comfort in knowing that reality, as you see it, is always a little bent, always filtered through softness, because life too is rarely straight. Our paths curve, our memories distort. What we think is one thing turns out to be another, but there's beauty in that. In the bending, it makes light linger, it makes color richer, it gives space for nuance. So tonight, as you rest in your own quiet layer of air, let your thoughts bend too. Let them wander sideways. Let them curve gently through the soft resistance of sleep. Let them refract. There is no wrong shape. You don't have to be direct to be clear. You don't have to be straight to be strong. Even the sun's path is softened by layers. So breathe deeply. Let your chest rise and fall, like air warming and cooling, like light folding gently into rest. And tomorrow, when you see the sun rise, not suddenly, but gradually, with warmth and surprise, you'll know that's light dancing through the layers, making its way to you, softened, stretched, and beautiful, just like you. Some nights, when the sky is especially clear, you'll notice something, a dot of light, steady, soft, hovering in the dark like it's waiting for you. You might think it's just another star, but it doesn't twinkle, it holds still. Its light feels grounded, more like a gaze than a glimmer. That's a planet, a neighbor, a visitor from our own solar system, shining with borrowed light. And tonight, as your eyes grow heavy, we're going to explore why it looks the way it does, not blinking, not flickering, just calmly watching from across the dark. Because there's a reason stars twinkle and planets don't. And it all begins with distance. Stars are far. So far, it almost doesn't make sense. Each one is a Sunday. Huge, burning nuclear hearts, dangling in the deep. But from here, From your place under the covers, beneath your own familiar sky, they're just points, tiny, single-pixel pinpricks in the night. And when their light reaches us, it has passed through light years of emptiness, then, through Earth's atmosphere, a restless, moving soup of air. Because their light is so concentrated, so precise, so point-like, even the tiniest wobbles in the air can knock it off course. And it twinkles. It's not the star that's shaking, it's the air around us. Tiny bends in the sky scatter the light from this single, small source in different directions from moment to moment. That's what makes a star blink, or shimmer, or pulse. But a planet is different. Still far, yes, but not that far. It's within our cosmic neighborhood. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, they all reflect sunlight like tiny wandering mirrors in the dark. And though they still appear small to the eye, they're not point-like. When you look at a planet, you're seeing a disk, tiny, yes, but wide enough that the atmosphere doesn't scramble it in the same way. It's like this. Imagine looking at a candle through a wavy window. If the flame is small and sharp, any distortion makes it flicker wildly. But if you look at a flashlight, broader, more diffuse, the distortions smooth out. It holds steady. That's what happens with planets. Their light covers a slightly wider area in the sky. So when the atmosphere shifts, those distortions cancel each other out. One side flickers left, the other flickers right, and your eye receives the average, a glow that stays calm. It's not magic, it's scale, and it's beautifully consistent. So the next time you see a bright light in the sky, pause for a moment. Is it blinking? Or is it still? That stillness is a clue. It means you're not looking at a star. You're looking at a neighbor. And that glow, it isn't from within the planet. It's sunlight reflected gently off its surface, carried to your eyes after bouncing from a world that spins, that breathes thin winds, that might, somewhere deep inside, hold its own secrets. Venus is often the first to appear at dusk, so bright, it almost seems artificial. Jupiter lingers longest. Saturn follows behind. And Mars, sometimes it burns rust red in the sky, its color clear and calm, like an ember cooling at the edge of a fire. All these planets appear steady because they're close enough to offer a broader face to the air. But there's a deeper beauty here too, because when you think about it, isn't there something comforting in the calmness of a planet? Stars dazzle, they flicker and vanish, play hide and seek behind clouds. But a planet is patient, persistent. It rises, it sets, and it doesn't ask to be noticed. It just is. And that's enough. There's a lesson in that, if you want there to be, that even in a sky filled with sparkle and spectacle, there's power in being steady. There's a kind of quiet strength in the light that doesn't perform, a light that simply shows up night after night, watching from afar, without blinking. Maybe that's why, when ancient people looked to the heavens, they gave planets names of gods and heroes, because there was something deeply human about that quiet gaze, something relatable in the way planets moved slowly across the sky, showing up again and again, year after year, not blazing like stars, but whispering their presence. So tonight, as your thoughts drift, maybe you can imagine one of them, a planet, far away but not unreachable. It's not twinkling, it's waiting, looking back at you with the same calm curiosity you offer the world when you're tired, but still paying attention. And maybe, In that stillness, you'll find your own. Maybe your breath slows. Maybe your mind stops flickering. Maybe, just for a moment, you become like that planet. Steady, quiet, glowing not with urgency, but with presence. You don't have to sparkle. You don't have to flicker. Sometimes, being a gentle reflection of light is more than enough. So rest now. Let the stars blink if they must. Let the air move. Let the sky swirl. You can stay still, like a calm gaze in the dark, like a planet among stars. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're looking at the sky with nothing but your own eyes. No lenses, no tools, just you and the air above. You can see the stars, the moon, maybe even a planet or two. It feels enough. It feels vast. But now, imagine you could see more, not just brighter, not just closer, but deeper. Imagine looking through time. That's what a telescope is. Not just a magnifying glass for the heavens, but a key to doors that light has taken centuries to reach. When you look through a telescope, you're not seeing the sky as it is. You're seeing the sky as it was. Because light travels, and even though it's fast, the fastest thing we know, it still takes time. Light from the moon? About 1.3 seconds. Light from the sun? Just over 8 minutes. The next closest star? More than 4 years. And galaxies? Millions. Sometimes billions. So every glimpse through a telescope is a kind of time travel. The further you look, the further back you go. You're not just an observer, you're an archaeologist of the cosmos. And all of that becomes possible through glass. Simple, silent glass. But not just any glass. Telescope lenses and mirrors must be carved and polished to absurd precision, smoothed to within fractions of the width of a human hair. Why? Because light is gentle. It can't be forced. It can't be rushed. To see clearly, you have to listen to it. To guide it, catch it, and let it reveal what it knows. And it tells you that stars are not still, that galaxies dance, that the universe is expanding, breathing, aging. All of this from a little bit of starlight filtered through a lens. But even the best telescopes have to contend with Earth's air. The atmosphere, the same one that brings us sunsets and blue skies, also blurs what we see. That's why astronomers place telescopes on mountaintops, to rise above the thickest layers of air, to find stillness closer to the edge. And beyond that, they send telescopes to space. No atmosphere, no shimmer, just the clean cold of the void. That's where the Hubble Space Telescope lives. And now, the James Webb, gazing deeper into the past than we've ever dared. But even ground-based telescopes have found ways to adapt. Some use adaptive optics, tiny mirrors that shift hundreds of times per second, to counteract the turbulence of the air, like a boat adjusting to waves, so the view never rocks. Others use radio waves, which aren't affected the same way, because not all telescopes see light the way we do. Some see heat, some see X-rays, some see radio pulses from neutron stars, spinning like cosmic lighthouses. Together, these instruments weave a fuller picture of what the universe is telling us. But even with all this power, the lenses, the mirrors, the data, there's something beautifully simple about looking up with your own eyes. Because seeing is not just about clarity. It's about patience. It's about stillness. It's about letting the sky take its time to show you what it's made of. And sometimes, even the blur has meaning. There's a kind of softness that comes from viewing stars. Through a hazy sky, a humid night, a layer of cloud. It's less precise, but more poetic, like memory, like dreams. Because clarity is not always necessary to feel wonder. And wonder, quiet, steady wonder, is what connects us to the stars above. It's what drew Galileo to point his telescope at Jupiter and discover moons. It's what led astronomers to realize that stars burn hydrogen and live lives like giant, glowing creatures. It's what inspired artists to paint nebulae without ever leaving Earth. And it's what brings you here tonight, tired, maybe, but curious, looking for something, not a fact, not a number, but a feeling, a sense that the sky is alive. That time is a soft spiral, that we are small, yes, but also capable of seeing very, very far. So rest your gaze now, let your eyes close. Like shutters over a telescope dome, let your thoughts drift, like galaxies expanding. You don't need to focus anymore. The science of seeing is not just about what's there. It's about noticing that there's more, always more. So sleep now and dream with open vision. Let your mind become the lens. Let your stillness become clarity. And remember, even when your eyes are closed, light is still traveling, still arriving, still telling its slow story across time. And one day, you'll see it. Not all twinkles belong to stars, and not all light belongs to sight. Tonight, let's go past what your eyes can hold. Let's drift gently beyond the blue sky, beyond even the colors of sunset, into a quieter realm where light still shines, but not for us. Because the spectrum of light, the one you learnt about in school, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, isn't the whole story. It's just a sliver, a tiny slice of something much, much larger. It's like listening through a door and thinking you've heard the whole conversation. There's more, so much more. Our eyes are tuned to a very narrow range of electromagnetic waves. We call it visible light because, well, it's what we see. But outside those bounds, on either end, are wavelengths too long or too short for us to perceive. And yet, they are all around us, passing through us, touching the earth, warming your skin, echoing off planets. Let's start with the long waves. Infrared, longer than red, too stretched out for your eye to catch. But you can feel it. Infrared is warmth, the heat from a cup of tea, the lingering sun in late afternoon, the soft glow of your own body when seen through a thermal lens. Infrared isn't hot, it just reveals heat. Astronomers use it to see through dust. Because in space, clouds of gas and dust can hide stars, like fog hiding the moon. But infrared slips through, reveals stars being born, galaxies forming. It's like peeking under a blanket and finding a nursery of light. And then there's microwaves. Yes, like the one in your kitchen. But in space, they come not from leftovers, but from the leftovers of creation itself. The entire universe still hums with the faint microwave glow of the Big Bang. We call it the cosmic microwave background. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's a whisper, a fossil of light, a remnant from when everything began, older than stars, older than time as we measure it. And beyond even that, radio waves, the giants of the spectrum, waves as wide as buildings, as slow as seconds. And yet, they carry messages. Pulsars, collapsed stars, send rhythmic radio pulses, like ticking clocks in deep space. Some spin hundreds of times a second, each tick a flash of energy, each flash a story, from a place you'll never visit, but can still hear. Now we'll go the other direction, toward the short waves. Start with ultraviolet, shorter than violet, invisible to you, but not to bees. Bees see flowers differently, patterns, rings, landing zones, drawn in UV, like glowing signs. Come here, this way. The sun sends UV every day. Some we block with sunglasses or sunscreen, but some slips through. It's what makes certain things glow. Scorpion shells, white shirts, chalk dust on old blackboards, a secret ink, revealed only by a different kind of sight. Shorter still, X-rays. You've seen their shadows in doctors' offices, bones glowing pale against black. But in space, X-rays scream. They come from extremes. Black holes, neutron stars, galaxies colliding. They don't whisper. They shriek. We can't feel them, but with special telescopes, launched beyond our air, we can hear their song. And shortest of all, gamma rays, high-energy bursts that come and go in the blink of a cosmic eye. When a star collapses, or two neutron stars collide, gamma rays spill out. Like fireworks? If fireworks were 1 billion times brighter and made of pure light, we can't see these twinkles, but they are there, moving above us, through us, around us. Each wavelength, a different way of telling the universe's story. And it makes you wonder, how much else do we miss, simply because we don't have the right eyes? Imagine a universe alive with invisible light, a sky filled not only with stars, but with waves of warmth and cold and pulses from ancient collisions. A whole language of light, spoken constantly, that we're only beginning to translate. And yet, in all that complexity, you are here, wrapped in a blanket, listening to the silence. And somehow, you're part of that language too. Your body gives off infrared. Your brain sends tiny electrical pulses. You're a ripple in the spectrum, a quiet signal in the symphony of light. And so, as you rest, remember, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it isn't shining. Just because a twinkle doesn't reach your eyes doesn't mean it isn't there. There are whole fields of stars that glow only in radio, whole galaxies that bloom in ultraviolet. You are surrounded by light you'll never see, but that still shapes you, still warms you, still reaches for you. So, sleep now. Let your mind soften like the edges of a wave, growing long and low. Let yourself drift into wavelengths unmeasured. You are safe. You are held. And the light you cannot see will keep on shining, quietly, faithfully, beautifully, through the darkness. You're lying down now. The sky is out of sight, but still, you remember how it looked. That star, did it shimmer? That planet, did it stay still? The light, you recall, was dancing, flickering, alive. But here's a quiet truth. That twinkle, it didn't only happen in the sky. It also happened in you. Because the universe may begin the performance, but your mind finishes it. Let's begin again, slowly. Light leaves a star. It travels through space, through time, through air. It bends. It scatters. It reaches your eye. But that's not where the story ends. That's just the beginning of another journey, from eye to mind. Because your brain, this soft, silent processor, doesn't simply receive light. It interprets it. It fills in gaps. It smooths the edges. It colors the world. And sometimes it adds the sparkle. Let's walk gently through how. Your eyes are complex machines. Millions of photoreceptors, rods for light and dark, cones for color, sitting at the back of your eye in a thin sheet called the retina. When light hits them, they don't glow. They spark. They send tiny electrical pulses down the optic nerve. It's not a picture yet. It's not an image. It's just information, like a raw signal. And your brain, especially the visual cortex at the back of your head, translates that signal into what you think of as sight. But this process is anything but passive. It's full of decisions, assumptions, edits. The brain doesn't want perfect truth. It wants consistency. It wants meaning. So when a star's light wobbles, just slightly as it passes through the air, a subtle flicker, your brain makes a choice. It turns that wobble into twinkle. It exaggerates the variation, because motion gets attention, and flicker suggests change. Your brain is trying to help. It says, "Look, that light is unstable. Let's animate it. Let's make it shimmer." But sometimes the twinkle doesn't come from the sky at all. Sometimes it's inside you. If you've ever looked at the stars through teary eyes, you know this. Moisture refracts light, breaking it into halos and sparks. And yet your brain doesn't label it error. It calls it beauty. That's the power of perception. Our minds create what they need to see, even when it isn't there. Think of mirages, light bent by heat. Your brain fills in water, because that's what the shimmer suggests. Or after images, the ghost of a bright light, still dancing in your eye. After it's gone, a memory made of light. So when you look up and see stars sparkle, you're seeing a blend, part physics, part atmosphere, part you. Your biology is involved, but so is your history. What you expect to see shapes what you see. If you grew up where the sky was full of stars, your mind reads their flicker as normal. If you saw only a few, the shimmer may seem magical. And in that way, your memories sparkle too. The sky isn't just up there. It's in your head, even when your eyes close. There's something poetic in that. That twinkle isn't just a signal of a distant sun's light struggling through air. It's also a signal of your brain doing what it does best, making meaning from movement, making wonder from variation, and it goes deeper still. Some people have a condition called scintillating scotoma, visual migraines that cause shimmering zigzags across their vision. They aren't seeing stars, but it feels similar, like twinkle without a source, a star field born from within. Others experience phosphenes, tiny sparks of light, when you press gently on closed eyes, lightless light, pressure-formed glitter in the dark. All this tells us that twinkle isn't always a message from above. Sometimes it's a whisper from within, and still, your brain cherishes it, because humans are drawn to flicker, candlelight, campfires, the hush of a television screen before sleep. Something about impermanence, about the edge between seen and unseen, makes us feel, and your brain knows this. It leans into it. It says, if the light dances, let it dance. Let it tell you a story. Let it soothe you. Let it keep you awake, just long enough to fall asleep. Even the structure of your eye contributes to twinkle. Tiny imperfections in your cornea, microscopic irregularities in the lens, changes in pupil size as you focus. All of it adds shimmer. But instead of correcting it, your mind embraces it, because it turns raw sensation into experience. And that's what twinkle is. It's not a fact. It's a feeling. A combination of movement, light, mind, and memory. A little science, a little soul. So tonight, as you lie in your stillness, know this: the twinkle you see is partly your creation. You shape it. You choose what it means. And that's a kind of quiet power. Maybe your thoughts flicker too. Maybe they dance, even in the dark. And maybe that's okay. Let them. Let your brain do what it's always done. Turn the unclear into wonder. Turn variation into meaning. Turn starlight into something soft and shimmering and beautifully human. Sleep now. And if your dreams sparkle, know that they were designed that way. By you. The night is quiet now. The stars are still above you, even if you can't see them, even if your eyes are closed. But you remember the twinkle, that little flicker that felt like a secret, a code in the sky meant just for you. It was beautiful, but maybe you didn't know why. Let's think about it, gently. Why does twinkle matter? It's not just about astronomy, not just about photons, or air, or optics. It's about something softer, something deeply human. We've always looked up, long before we understood light, or gases, or gravity. We looked. We watched stars shimmer, and wondered. We made stories. We traced shapes. We named them Orion, Cassiopeia, the Pleiades. We gave them gods and myths and wishes, because twinkle invited imagination. It said, this is not just light, this is possibility. We told our children that stars were lanterns, or spirits, or holes in the sky, where the light of heaven peeks through. And even now, with satellites and telescopes and textbooks, the magic remains, because twinkle reminds us that not everything is still, that even the most distant things to move, not wildly, not chaotically, but just enough to catch your attention, just enough to whisper, I'm alive. And that whisper, that shimmer, echoes something in us. We too flicker, our thoughts, our moods, our presence. We try to be constant, to be suns, but more often we are stars, visible one moment, hidden the next, glowing, then quiet. We twinkle, and that's okay, because twinkle doesn't mean failure. It means being real, in an ever-shifting sky. And still, we shine. The sky itself is a kind of mirror. During the day, it scatters sunlight into blue. During sunset, it burns into gold and crimson. At night, it quiets down, but never stops moving. Clouds drift. Air breathes. Light passes through it and dances. And you? You watch. Maybe not with your eyes anymore, but with memory, with thought. And as you lie here, your breath slow, your limbs heavy, you're part of the sky too. Part of the great atmosphere that shapes every sparkle. You are the observer and the lens, the instrument and the question. You are the soft mind that turns photons into feelings, the quiet heart that finds poetry in physics, the restful soul that sees the night, not just as dark, but as deep. This is why twinkle matters, because it's not a flaw, not a distortion, not an error. It's a reminder that everything we see is touched by where we are, the air we live in, the minds we think with, the stories we bring. Twinkle is the universe saying, yes, I am real, but how you see me is yours. And that gift, the gift of interpretation, is what makes you not just a witness, but a participant. You shape the cosmos as it shapes you, even as you sleep. And now, you are so close to that, so close to true rest. Your thoughts may still drift, but they drift like stars, not lost, just wandering. You've come far tonight, from light to sky to scattering and bending, from visible to invisible, from space to self. And now, it's time to soften fully. Let the sky fade behind your closed eyes. Let the twinkle remain, not as a thing to chase, but as a feeling to hold. Because when morning comes, the stars will go quiet. The twinkle will disappear into blue, but you'll know it was there. You'll carry it, like a secret glow beneath your thoughts. A reminder that even in distortion, there is beauty. Even in movement, there is meaning. Even in you, there is light. So sleep now, not because you must, but because you can. The world will keep spinning. The stars will keep shining. The sky will keep scattering. And you? You will rest. You will drift gently into the calm beyond thought, beyond sound, beyond blue, and somewhere in the soft corners of the cosmos, a star will twinkle, and it will matter, because you were here to notice it. Thank you for spending this quiet time with Boring Science for Sleep. If you'd like to return to this journey again, you're always welcome. And if you found a little peace here tonight, feel free to let us know what time it is, where you are, and what stars look like in your sky. You are not alone under the night. You are part of it. Good night.